have to mute this. Yeah, I wish it was integrated into YouTube, but it's not anymore for whatever reason. Okay, so I have to log in each time. Have to mute this. Okay, so mute that. All right. Okie dokie. So let's wait for others. I just resent the, got it. So I'll put, I'll wait. Hello, everybody. Sorry about not sending the Zoom link. I do the same one all the time, just so everybody knows. I will make sure I send it again. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Wait a couple of minutes. Well, we're still, oh no, we're I have no reason to believe that we should have, oh, yay, I didn't have to text Gary. All right, we'll just wait 1 minute for our secretary. Bob, thanks for all the emails forwarded today. So I haven't had a chance. I'm hoping people to look at them. We'll review them. I think we might have to submit the agenda to include those. Okay. Just give it a minute or so. Otherwise, we might have to have another volunteer for note taking today. Bob, will we need to edit the agenda to add the update from, I have the same update from Limerick. I actually spoke to them, but to add the update from Brad? Or
yeah.
Yeah, do we need to edit? We'll need it to edit the.
Well, you would make a motion to accept revised minutes.
Okay, we'll just revise the minute, revised agenda, right?
Revised agenda, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know where Janice is. Would anybody else be willing to take minutes until she comes? Would that be somebody, anybody? I can't do both, Gary. I'm looking at you. Gary's like, oh, don't look at me. Don't make eye contact.
Claire looks like she writes good notes.
Thanks, Gary. I'll do
Yeah.
it.
Thank you, Claire. Didn't want to ask you because you always are the one that does that. So, okay. So until we'll just move along until we hear from Janice, or just keep going. So, okay. Welcome everybody. It is 5:02. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And to start with, if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest or anything we need to know about, everybody's okay. Paul, can you mute yourself? Yeah, or shake your head. Yours is, yeah, okay. Everybody's okay? Okay with that? So no declarations or disclosures, I should say. I do have an addition to the agenda, and that's an update from Brad. So before, so we'll add that under new business if that's okay. Does anybody else have any additions to the agenda? Okay. So I'd like someone to move with the addition, to approve the agenda with the addition. Oh, there's Janice. Oh, Claire, you're off the hook. Let's just give Janice a moment to get in. Janice, you're here. Okay, good. Claire was going to take over your job for you.
Well, it was for some odd reason taking forever, but
you're here now. That's what counts. Okay, so thank you very much, Claire. So Janice, we just started the meeting.
Yep.
And what we're doing is just making a revision to the agenda.
Okay.
To add on an email under new business, an email update from Brad Cole under new business. Okay. So what I'm asking for from the group is a motion to accept the agenda with the revised addition.
I'll motion that.
Okay, and a seconder, please.
I'll be happy to.
Okay, that's great. Or Janice or Paul, either one. That's great. Thank you.
Motion passed, I assume.
What's that?
I said motion passed, I assume.
Yes, it's passed.
Yeah, already. There we go.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, including the resolution from the April 23rd meeting. Does everybody have the revised version of that? Do you want to take a moment to just look at it one more time? Everybody's got it?
It did go out quite a bit ago, so.
Yeah. And I mean, I know we went through it with a fine tooth comb because a lot of questions were asked about it, so.
Mhm.
So I'd like a motion then, we'll take another minute if you haven't. To take a look at them. And then if I can have a motion to approve. Please.
Looks good to me. I'll motion.
Thank you, Claire. Seconder, please. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Noisy Paul.
I saw that.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, Paul's sound is very echoey when he puts his. So we'll hold off on him until he can say his piece under new business. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Moving along. On to recycling and publicizing the recycling list on social media and in council notes. I saw the list on Facebook, I think. I think it was Facebook. Did everybody else see the list go up? I think it needs to be recirculated again. No? Did anybody else see the list go up? No?
I did. I think I did see it on the website quite clearly. I don't think I caught it on Facebook.
I thought I saw it on Facebook. I'm not positive. Bob, I wonder if we can just find out for sure whether social media was done. I'm pretty sure I saw it on Facebook, but I'm not positive. And then we talked about council notes as well, having it in council notes as well. But I don't think I'm not sure when the next council notes is due. Do you know, Bob, when the next one is?
Doug's announcement in the Phoenix. No, I'm not certain, but I'll certainly put that on the, and it'd be a nice thing to remind people there's still cleanup days available as well. I think I'll have to go on their website to find them.
There's still what? Sorry, Bob, I did miss that.
Brush days, brush amnesty
Okay,
days.
yeah, okay, yeah.
That's the one I saw on Facebook.
Oh, maybe that's what it was, Gary. Maybe I'm confusing.
That's the one I saw on Facebook was the brush amnesty days.
Okay, so Bob, if you can check to see what staff has done with that, it would be great. I know it's not difficult to do that, to just put it on social media to remind people.
Yeah. So just currently the list, the recycling list is on the website.
Yeah.
But so we'd like to make sure that it's
just
on.
To remind residents. Yeah, just a note to remind. I think Mayor Kate's still doing that, isn't it? Just to remind residents of what is and what isn't.
Yeah.
Because again, on my jog this morning, I see so many bins that have things in that shouldn't, i.e. Tetra Packs. That's a big one that was in people's bins this morning, which is they are not recyclable. Which brings me to the response from Limerick. I actually spoke to Terry at Limerick.
Excellent.
And I got the same, more or less the same answer. So simply put, I asked him how many loads are diverted per week or month due to unacceptable items such as unclean jars and things like that. And he said 0 are diverted because they're caught, if not at the landfill site by staff, who he praises highly, or he said if they see a bin that has something in it that shouldn't be recycled, they leave the bin behind. That is what they're directed to do. However, I know for a fact that doesn't happen. So I told him that, which didn't go over all that well. But I've seen it. I've seen it happen several times. He claims that if they pick up the bin, they notice something in the bin that shouldn't be recycled, they pull it out and leave it behind. So yeah, Paul's shaking his head. So I don't know what we do with that information. Like, I don't know what is, I found him to be quite defensive. So albeit he had very high praise about the staff. So zero bins, according to him, the big bins that are at our site ever get rejected because they're so well controlled by the staff. So, I mean, I guess that was a very good thing to hear. And then so what used to happen is they used to pick through people's recycling before COVID. Of course, that's all changed, right? They don't touch people's garbage anymore. So, or their recycling anymore. So the sorting thing is less than it used to be. So let's take, sorry, I digress a sec. I'm just going to take a look at the note, the email that was sent from Brad, which everybody was CC'd on. I'm just going to read it, the part that Brad says. So I have spoken with Limerick Environmental, and they've explained the process to me. They stated that none of the curbside is ever rejected at the recycling facility because they make sure not to pick up contaminated materials. So what I said. If a resident does put something that is non-recyclable or dirty, the bin is not emptied and a note is left with the reason why. Yes. The lady said our attendants have been doing a great job at the site and next to no loads have been refused and landfilled. She said that we had a very good program going, verbatim, pretty much what Terry said to me. And Terry is the manager, whatever so again, any comments, questions, conversations? I didn't know what to say. Gary's smiling again.
It could be true. It could be true. Like maybe we do a better job than average and we should be happy, right?
Oh yeah. But my debate is whether or not they leave the bins behind. I don't think they leave the bins behind.
I know darn well it was only reasonably recently that I realized there was one thing I had been putting out that was not appropriate. The bin was always empty. It was never left full. Even being left full, I would have thought, well, maybe they just missed it. But, if it was done for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, I think I'd have figured it out.
Yeah.
But I know darn well
that
there was stuff in there that shouldn't have been in there. It doesn't go in there now, but it did. I know that.
Yeah. So and that's exactly how I feel. And I've witnessed it, Janice. I actually witnessed it this morning specifically. So, and the other issue that's come up from residents, and this is something I asked Terry as well, is that people are complaining. They think that the recycling is going into the same garbage and they're all being lumped together. So I've heard this time and time again from residents. I know. So he assured me that they go around once to pick up the garbage, and then they go around a second time to pick up the recycling. So they do not. So if anybody hears that there's a real misinformation out there about that. Mm-hmm. So there's an assumption because it's the same truck that everything goes in together. It does not go in together. So that.
And I've seen that clearly enough to know that that is not the case.
Yeah.
I wonder though, whether that leave the bin is the policy, has that not been properly conveyed to the people picking up? Maybe
I told Terry that.
Yeah,
I told Terry that is not the case. Bins are being picked up anyway. And I was much more polite about it. But I think it's something that I don't know, that needs to be brought up. I don't know. It's obviously not our place to do that. I did suggest to him that it didn't happen. And so he got quite defensive about it. So I think it's perhaps a conversation that needs to be had between Brad and Limerick, because it's pretty difficult to explain if none of our loads are getting spoiled, then, and they're picking up things that aren't recyclable, like it doesn't equate to me. Any comments about this? Does that make sense?
It sounds to me like we're not going to get 100% transparency on this just because they know it's a judgmental topic.
Yes.
But at least it sounds like contaminated loads aren't getting straight poured into our landfill site. That is reassuring because we weren't sure what happened if there was a contaminated load. It sounds like they take whatever back to their sorting facility and then maybe they pick out dirty stuff and inappropriate stuff and throw it out. Hopefully they do pick it out.
Yeah.
and don't just dump whole loads, but we may never actually.
And that's beyond that is also beyond our control. And you're absolutely right, Claire. I mean, there's not much we can do about that other than educating our residents, right? To make sure that those, but yeah, that's exactly right. And they do sort it when it comes from the residents bins, it gets sorted at source, right? And supposedly they do pick out the things that are inappropriate, but they do not leave notes behind, and they do not let residents know what it's not recyclable. So that is just the one thing that I would ask, if possible, if that be conveyed from Brad, if there's a way that Brad could communicate that to Limerick, that indeed is not happening. So
We've all seen the process though, eh? So we understand that there's a young man on the back of the truck that jumps down, grabs hold of the box and fires it into the back of the truck.
it doesn't look so, but then Limerick shouldn't say that that's what's happening, because it is not what's happening. That's the only thing we have control over, and the only thing that I take issue with. And I think maybe Limerick would say, get over yourself, because we're going to sort it at source anyway.
So long as it's being sorted, I don't have a problem with it.
Except that residents aren't learning what it is. And
that's right. And it's raising the question of whether or not that's true. We know what they're saying isn't what's happening.
So
what else is not quite accurate?
I think what they do though, so just, well, I've seen they've left, like if it's a container recycling week and they have paper out, they leave the paper.
Yeah.
I've seen them do that. So I mean,
that's a given.
what we think they were meaning and what they think we mean might not. They might be saying, well, yeah, we leave it when it's the wrong week. But
no, he told me
typically in those plastic container weeks is when the mistakes are, right?
Yeah, and
Not
he
the
told me
paper.
specifically, Gary, that it is, if they look in the bin and they see, for example, there's a Tetra Pak in or an item that is not recyclable, then they leave the bin behind and leave a note. He specifically told me that. So
It'd have to be something large and very obvious, I think.
I think so, yeah. So I guess I don't know, but what everybody else thinks, but I'd like to have that clarified, because I don't think that is happening. So the residents aren't getting educated because they're just doing the same thing over and over again. So I mean, I leave it. What does everybody else think about that? Is it a question we should be asking, or something that we should be, does it help us to?
Well, the approach might be best education, where we were headed originally. Get more information out onto Facebook, use the council notes, put an ad in the Phoenix explaining to people what is not recyclable. Maybe even a top, I don't know, does negative education work? What's not we keep stressing that is recyclable, but if we can convince people that, like Tetra Paks, styrofoam, those things people just want to get rid of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that would be very helpful. And I think that's, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think that is the only way to approach it, really.
Okay, so education.
Yeah, and you probably hit the ones. It's pizza boxes and the paper garbage. That's probably the number one paper mistake.
Yep.
Tetra Paks and the plastic one, right?
Yep.
Those are probably the two biggies.
Black plastic, yeah.
Black plastic's another one. Oh, and styrofoam, because some people still get styrofoam from and bring it home as takeout.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think the stress needs to be on what's recyclable in Merrickville, Wolford, because we've come from a different municipality, and styrofoam is accepted. Plastic bags are accepted. If you're in Kingston, they're all recyclable. So I think the stress needs to be not inherently recyclable, but those that are accepted for recycling in Merrickville, Wolford.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Paul. It does vary from place to place, and we have a lot of newcomers now that don't know that. There are assumptions that are made. So that's great, Bob. That would be great if we could follow up with putting it in social media. Just reminding people, putting it in, an ad in the Phoenix would be a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or anything before we move past recycling on to something else? No, good. Okay. I'm trying to make sure we're paying attention to the time here. The right of way habitat restoration program. So feedback from council again, Bob. I haven't had a chance to look because it came in just before the meeting. You sent an update, didn't you? Sent it to all of us.
So let me go.
So if you can speak to that, please, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm just, here we go. There's. So this is what Kirsten brought out of the memos and the task assignment. Okay. Council didn't specify a particular timeline for response in this item. There doesn't seem to be any program, grant, or other type of deadline noted on the CWF website. So what they're asking the committee to confirm that they haven't missed anything on the website, but they're hoping that the committee can simply choose their own pace for examining this opportunity, presumably with a plan to report back to council at one of their regularly scheduled meetings. The dates are listed on the village's website. Okay, I'm not sure if that's gives you the information you're looking for, Annie. Yeah, considering.
Somebody else like to comment? Claire, please help me.
Yeah, my
yeah.
understanding was we've already sent a resolution to council suggesting we act on that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'll find out from them whether they're expecting that to be staff or they're going to expect the committee to respond to it.
It almost sounds like they want the committee to do a little more research or
No, I beg to
detailed proposals in terms of timeframes and that. And, you know, we sort of said move on it, and
yeah.
it was sort of meant to be that, we thought.
Paul, go ahead.
My understanding of the program is it requires resource commitment, and that needs to come through council and the municipality.
Yeah.
We've said it's a good thing to do. We've made a strong proposal, and now it's up to the village to resource the effort, and that's certainly what's happened in Lanark. Is there is a person on staff responsible for that rights of way program, and I think we've done all we can. We don't have the authority to make those levels of commitment.
Yeah,
Absolutely, Paul. I agree 100%. So let's stop going back and forth on this, please, and let's ask council to move forward with it now-ish instead of bringing it back to us again.
Yep.
Did you, yeah, okay, so I'll leave that with you then. I'll leave that with you, Bob, so that,
Yep.
yes, it goes into the minutes, but it doesn't have to wait for our approval, the minutes approval for it to move forward. Because we already put the resolution forward.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay, awesome. Great. Pitch in, who did it? Who pitched in?
well, thank you. In my defense,
Yes, no, it's okay, Janice. I know you had a.
well, but I did pick up a few things that were out there along Bruce Street when I finally got to the point that I could walk around the block, although they were all in front of my house. So I'm not sure that really counts for a heroic effort.
Well, wouldn't it be?
However,
Everybody
I
did that.
will try and get out still. And, you know, if I see a spot that we're going by that looks less than great, I do hope that I will manage to stop and do something. I'm sorry, Paul, that you wound up there on your own on that day. These things happen, but I'll do better next time, I swear. I promise.
Okay, thank you for that, Paul. And I went the day before with my neighbors, and we did up Reed Street, and actually at the corner here, where all the construction is, and there was a ton of garbage.
Oh,
We also picked up a box of used needles, which was a little disconcerting. But so let me give the group the update from Brad. So he said the ladies at the front desk handed out bags and were unable to keep track of how many were issued. I don't know, we were only allowed 2 per household, so it would be pretty easy to do the math. They did write down the names of the people that picked them up. I have attached a scan of the sheet that the names are written on. The total bags that were brought to the landfill site was 36 yellow bags. The clear recycling bags did not get counted, as most residents just took them straight to the bins. Oh, okay, just went and dumped them in the bins, I see. Okay, so, but we'd be able to, I didn't open the attachment to find out. We'd be able to find out, I think more what happened with the process. Paul, you went in as well, is you got allocated like one of each. Was it one of each or two of each, Paul? I can't remember. Two of each.
I had 6 of each.
Oh, that's right, because you're doing it for the committee. So it was just
Yeah.
you had 2 of each, I think it was, and so presumably if there's 36 yellow bags, there would have been the same amount of clear bags given. So, you know, close to 70, which isn't bad. It's still could have been much bigger than that, right? So I don't know. We need to communicate it sooner. And also maybe if we can do something next year, I was thinking about that. They do it with Tim Hortons in Kempville. If there's a way we could partner with NG and do something together with NG from an advertising perspective or something where we're more involved, there's more exposure, but we do need to do something more from an advertising perspective next year.
We know it will be April sometime, so surely it's the old learning curve. Next year we'll know better, we'll move faster.
Yeah.
We'll be prepared, and I'm sure we can up the average a little bit.
Yeah, it seems to be lower than usual, but does anybody have any questions or comments or input about the pitch-in? Claire, go ahead.
I think, like Paul was mentioning, it got really thrown off by Easter being right in the middle.
Yeah.
I know I went to pick up bags on Easter Monday and the offices were closed, and I was like, oh, right. And I hadn't thought of that, but I ended up getting my bags through the Lions Club because they had some extra. But yeah, so it just threw everything off a little bit.
Yeah. That could be the timing of it. Yeah.
I had a question. I raised the issue that the date for dropping off the bags was at the last day of the pitching, and I know Bob sent a note to Brad, but we never heard anything out of that, whether there was an extension, and if there indeed was an extension, it certainly wasn't publicised because I looked for it.
I think you make a good point, Paul. I'd like to see that extended, and we have done that in the past. It has been extended in the past to give people that time. So it's been, the landfill site has accepted it for 2 weeks rather than just the 1 week. So if we can ask council, that might be a possibility for next year. It has been done in the past. Because you're right,
Well,
too close of you only have the one Saturday, right? So it's very close to, go ahead, Bob, you can say something.
well, I was going to say, yeah, having spoken to Brad, I doubt if any yellow bags would have been turned away. But
Yeah.
in terms of, again, the whole publicity thing would have been better. Could have been better.
Yeah.
Just getting the information out and extending. I don't imagine they want to leave that, yellow bags are free forever, but
No, but to extend it a week gives another Saturday, which just makes them, I mean, let's be honest here, folks. We are helping the village clean up. So for free. So it should be a no-brainer, right? To me. So whatever the village can do to make it easier for residents and encourage them to do that, it's a win-win, right? For everybody involved.
yes.
Yeah. So any other comments, questions about pitch-in before we move on to new business? Nope. Okay, so, all right, Paul, talk to us about your thoughts about the mitigation and reduction of the footprint, environmental footprint.
Well, I joined this committee back when we first started from a motivation of the providing input for the village and the municipality to establish a plan and a commitment to reduce the environmental footprint and also combat its contribution to climate change. And because of COVID, etc., none of that has happened. And I could not, in all conscience, sit on the Environmental Advisory Committee for 4 years and not at least initiate a discussion of what is the commitment of the municipality to, the municipality should have a policy on giving priority in everything that it does to the impact of those actions on climate change and environmental footprint. And I don't see any action by this particular council to have such a policy or to implement it. I attended one of the presentations at the Sustainable North Grenville event on Saturday, and the speakers there, particularly the lady from Lanark, the Lanark County level, are doing some wonderful things opposite having a policy, having therefore actions flowing and processes flowing from that. It's not perfect, as they found when they want to replace baseboard heaters with natural gas and create the CO2s from natural gas. But they caught that sort of thing, and it was a good example of, if you have the policies at the top and then examine all of your actions opposite their impact on climate change, on the environmental footprint, then we would see different actions. For example, I saw in the budget presentation there was a line item for the buying of a new riding mower. Is that mower going to be electric and rechargeable, or is it going to be a gas and diesel one? If we reduce the amount of mowing that was required, would we even need a new riding mower? Those are the sort of actions that would happen if we actually had, or if council had, some principles and policies on climate change and environmental footprint. And as I say, in all conscience, I could not have sat on this committee for 4 years and not have at least have raised the issue that there is an absence of such policy and commitment.
Well said, Paul. Where to start? Bob.
Well, if you can find an electric mower that will replace a 30 horsepower ride-on, do buy it. You know, perhaps we'd even buy it from you, because I don't believe that it's capable to mow the soccer field with an electric battery mower.
Well,
do all of what needs to be done. I recognize, Paul, it's a philosophy that people, you want to look at all of your purchases. Some aren't going to be practical, and others are going to be in conflict, or some people don't want to see something that's a little bit good. The idea of natural gas on the north side of the river, for example. There are many people who feel that that's a bad investment, that that's not helping anything. Whereas people who live on the north side of the river might think that, well, rather than burning oil, which they're currently burning, or a lot of wood heat, that perhaps going to natural gas would reduce their carbon footprint. And other people think they should all just go on electricity in some form or other. So there's a lot of different, there's still a lot of opinion out there too. And there is a feeling, I think, a lot of times among some people that, well, if you can't do it all, you're wasting your time.
But I think the point is, though, Bob, if I may, in really the question that Paul is asking is, do we have a plan? And are we working towards those goals and mitigating reduction? And the answer is no, right? It is no.
There's no recognized plan, no.
No. So is it something the EAC has been talking about for a number of years? Claire can answer that question. We have, yes. You're new to the committee, Paul, so I certainly, and I thank you very much for bringing this up. Certainly, personally speaking, it's an issue. It's an issue for sure.
Well, I suggest if there are achievables that are being done in Lanark, for example, we'd certainly be interested in hearing what they are and see if they're applicable to Marrickville Wolford.
There are plenty of achievables being done in surrounding communities, and we have absolutely been shot down for bringing such things up. And we've brought this up before, and I've personally felt like we were basically told to shut up. So that is absolutely an issue in our community.
Can you give me an example of an achievable?
We can look at climate action strategies from Lanark and surrounding communities. They have actual laid out documents and plans for mitigating climate impact and all kinds of steps listed in there. We also have the work plan we created in the last Environmental Advisory Committee, which has a detailed work plan, including free, no cost objectives involving, there are a few working with RBCA on shoreline protection. There are so many options. It's not a lack of options of actionable items. It's a lack of will to pursue them.
Absolutely. To have a priority with that.
Yeah, if you don't have the commitment at the top, if council does not have a environmental policy and climate change policy, then all you're going to get is, just as you reacted to my example on the mower, it's just going to, somebody's going to just shoot it down because, oh, we don't have an overall value set that values the climate and the environment in this village at the council level. And I wasn't on the committee in the past. This is my first term. It may well be my last. I don't know about that yet. But this council is not beholden to, presumably, to previous councils' commitments and strategies. And if you don't have the commitment at the top, it's true on any organisational change. It's basic. If the people at the top aren't committed, then nothing else will happen. It just will not happen, and that's the issue. Is there needs to be leadership from the top examining. Then you could have we'll have processes to examine anything you do from an environmental and climate change perspective. It's not the only perspective, but at the moment on the list of perspectives, it isn't even on the list. And that's the problem.
Yes, and you're absolutely right, Paul. And as what Claire has articulated a few moments again, Claire and I have been around for a number of years, and we've done the work has been done, the information's available, and the commitment is not there. So maybe
again, hang on before we get too far down the rabbit hole. You're saying the work has been done, and has it been presented to this council? Claire, yes?
Yes, this committee presented our strategic work plan in our first meeting of this committee of this council that was developed through the strategic plan under the last council. We've had a work plan with an actionable timeline of items budgeted and including a whole bunch of zero cost items. You can watch the video back from our first meeting with this exact committee of council. And we talked about that work plan, and we were told by this council that we were not to pursue anything on our own. We were to wait until council gave us things, and they were not committed to pursue anything that the last council committed to, and they shut down all interest in all of those actionable items.
I know maybe I'm flogging a dead horse here, but I'm wondering what the actionable items are.
Oh, Bob, okay. So if you want to go back, and we can, those documents are there. They were very well developed. They were presented. The CAO asked me to send all that information at the beginning of term for the group. That was sent out. The information is all available, and we send it again for probably the third time that we've done this. So, we're going back a long time for sure. So whether you remember that or not, but Claire's absolutely right. These are steps that were all taken. So for us it's not a time to put it back on us to say that we didn't do the work, because I
don't believe I was saying you didn't do the work. What I'm saying is I'm not aware of it. Okay. The idea that you've done all this work, well, fantastic, but I'm afraid it's certainly not front of mind for this council. I'd be the first to admit that, but I don't recall even seeing it.
Okay. It was most definitely sent. Mm-hmm. Most definitely sent. And as Claire said, you can listen back, go back to the first meeting that we had and listen to the recording. But all the documentation is there. CAO has it. All of you should have it. So if you look back, it's part of this. It was also part of the strat plan, right? So
I know the documents were sent round.
Yes,
because I have a copy of them. I couldn't recite anything from them at the moment. Believe me.
And it's not.
I did get them. I know that, and through email, so it's buried there.
Yeah,
somewhere. I suspect.
And Janice is right, and I don't think now is the time to go through what is on that. That's not the point. I think we need to go back to what Paul was saying. And there is a complete lack of commitment at the top from council to mitigate or reduce our environmental footprint. And so, you know, we can chomp away and pick away at little items that we can do, like pitch in or like even this, the right of way program. And even that, I mean, it's how long is it taken? And it comes back to us again to, we've gone on the website, we can't find a timeline. Like it's a challenge. It's a challenge. So anyway, I don't know what can be done at this point. So in response to your question, Paul, I know if we need to go back and pose that question to council again. So, hey, shall we revisit this now that you've got X number of months left? It's not going to happen, let's be honest here. So I think it will be something that's going to happen. Hopefully the next council will be prove a commitment to this, but I don't think anything's going to happen between now and the end of this council, let's be honest.
No, but you could certainly make it part of the political discussion. There is an election coming up, so that's your best bet to try and act then, or try and force a greater public awareness, and certainly ask questions at any of the council meetings, not the council meetings, but the all candidates meetings coming up. There's certainly an opportunity there to try and get people to commit at that time.
Sustainable Miracle Wolfer is going to be offering a session at the beginning of June, and that will be in the Phoenix. We are going to be offering to educate councillors, ones that are considering running, ones that are running, on how to talk about the environment and what needs to be addressed. So that session will be at the Goose. I think it's the 7th. It's the first week of the first Tuesday in June. So the opportunity for councillors to educate themselves, because there's a lack of education, to ask questions and to understand what should be talked about and what the priorities are from an environmental perspective. And to those that are, that's something that we, not we, but the organization will be offering. So we'll see what happens with that. So yes, Paul, and I mean, we all want nothing more to make that a priority, as communities all around us have made it a priority.
I wondered whether we could, as a committee, document in the minutes, express our disappointment in the absence of this leadership.
Oh, I've got a note. It'll turn up. Claire, could you confirm the date of that meeting? You say first week of June.
Yeah, it is the first Tuesday. Just bear with me. I know.
You can send that later if you like.
It's June the 7th. I think it's June the 7th. I will confirm. I believe it's, so it's the second week. I believe it's June the 7th, but I will confirm that.
Yeah.
It will be in the Phoenix.
Here, Bobo.
But that's Sustainable Miracle Wolford who's taking the initiative to do that, which I think is a great idea. Okay, well, any thoughts, comments before we end this meeting?
Yeah, I'm going to find that work plan, and I would like to redistribute it to everybody on this committee, and hopefully maybe we can include it as an attachment to these minutes.
That's a great idea, Claire.
Sure.
Great suggestion.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Claire. That's a great idea. Okay, everybody, it is 5:43. If the next meeting is going to be on May the 25th. So I guess we can, somebody want to move to adjourn the meeting at 5:44? Yep, Gary and Paul, got that, Janice?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Bye.